Okay, I call this meeting to order. It's February 13th, 2013, and we have the Harbor Master, Glorianne, Glenn Reed, Dave Tinas, Kurt Wallheater, and myself, Mike Banks. And we need to approve the minutes of the last 4 meetings.
Motion to approve October 10th, November 1st, and December 12th minutes as written.
I'd like to amend that and also include the October 31st minutes.
October 31st.
August 31st. Excuse me.
Okay.
August.
Yeah, it's not listed.
It wasn't September, sorry about that.
Right, yeah, August.
I got it on the other one, but some of you guys got it. But.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded and amended. Would I entertain a motion to accept the the motion as amended?
Motion to accept.
And seconded? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Good. Okay. Great. Okay, then we need to approve the meeting agenda. Is there anything we need to amend to it? Anyone have any issues or ideas that they want to add to it?
No, I read it all over. It looks good.
Okay, so we just need an amendment to approve the meeting agenda.
Motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's moved in second. All those in favor of the agenda as it's written?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. There's no visitors, so we don't have any unrelated or related issues to or unrelated to the agenda or related to the agenda. So now we have Glorianne's Harbor Master report.
Okay, first of all, all 4 of you have to take 3 sandwiches each. Eat them. Okay, Stacy is working still as our temp. Walker is currently taking some time off right now. We get Stacy for 6 months. We're trying to use to the best ability we can. We're still in negotiations with this temporary, seasonal, part-time, whatever we're going to call it. So, working with downstairs to try and make that happen. And I don't know, maybe it's not going to happen till fall now. So, but keep working on it. Maintenance, we have the new North Harbor ladders have all been installed. They look great. Ben and my attitude is we look at some of these projects and say, okay, we never want to have to do this again in our lifetime here. So
Builder stout.
yes, so they look great. Tamako, I'm working still with Jimmy. He's kind of got other things going on with trying to put together the North Harbor bid, but get him for the 3 troublesome ladders at the crane dock. Ocean Beauty is demoing as we speak. They have half the building down, so that's kind of exciting. Rock and Road is doing that job. We have a fairly serious water leak in the South Harbor that has been a real challenge we've been dealing with. Right now we're putting air through the system, and Mike is going to hopefully dive on it on Friday, and we found one pretty serious leak right now, and we're hoping that, can't imagine that that's it, but maybe it is. Looking forward to spring cleanup and prepping for the North Harbor project. So that's kind of where we're at. A couple of things as we're trying to locate areas to store some of the float things, some of the stuff that we have, we're going to not let go when they demo. We're going to maintain or retain for other projects. Also, well, I'll get into that later. Drive down project, the Corps of Engineer signed easement is at the state for official. It's been officially recorded. And tomorrow at 6:30, there's a public works session to review the 35% review of the drive down and also to discuss this crane dock project. Somerville, we're at the point where Somerville still has to give us, we have to talk to him about what we want him to do. He pretty much knows, but he wants to hear it from you guys. And then he'll get us a proposal on what it's going to cost. We can send that up to the assembly. They can give us a thumbs up or thumbs down on going through it the way we've been talking about it, turning it into a phase of the drive down to hopefully save mobilization, hopefully save some design costs using the pre-existing state design, some of those kind of things. So we're still at that stage, and tomorrow's the night. I've invited some people from PVOA. Their director is gone, but I talked to Jerry Dahl, and he thinks he might be there. I also talked to Brian Hunt. Just some guys from the user groups, as well as PVOA that's representative of that outfit.
Do we have an active sport fishing group in town still?
Stan, yeah, we do. So,
That's another group that would be pretty active in that. I mean,
yeah, could be.
charter. I guess they call it a charter group, don't they?
Yeah, charter group, yeah.
Yeah.
What about,
yeah, I could put a-
excuse me. What about Dave Bird? 'Cause it is transient.
Cruise ships.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cruise ship money that we might include.
You know, we're not at the point where we want to, this isn't going to be where we're reinventing the wheel. We've gone through a decade of conceptual design. We're talking really, really serious particulars. And so, if we make it too broad, then we're going to have to listen to all these people's reinventing the wheel, is my fear a little bit. So it's been open to the public. If people have an interest, it has been broadcasted on KFSK. The posters are hanging around town, and so I can put a bug in those guys' ear, though.
Well, just, thinking about down the line, I'd rather have some representative be there for the process so that
Yeah.
when it comes out,
That's a good
that
point.
they say, well,
Absolutely, because you're gonna get fallout from these groups we're talking about,
Yeah,
They'll say, well, we weren't involved. Well, you
Yeah.
weren't involved because you weren't there.
yeah.
And that all
Right.
sounds really good on paper, and Glenn, you know as well as I do, with being on boards as often as we have, you make the invitation, you grab them by the hand, you walk them in, you set them down, they say absolutely nothing,
Yeah.
you walk away, and then it's all said, and then they still come and go, how come you guys did that? I mean, people just don't care.
It's always easier to criticize than
Yeah,
to
they
offer
just don't
suggestions.
True, yeah.
No, but I think it's a great idea. It
Yeah.
is open to the public.
It is, it's open to
We'd
the public.
encourage everybody to
So,
show up.
Yeah,
you know,
so I'll talk
and
to
say
those guys.
something.
The North Harbor invitation, as you know, is out to bid. It closes March 5th. There's tomorrow at 2, on March 5th
Oh,
at
these would be special ones.
2 p.m. was when we'll open the bids on March 5th. Tomorrow we are having as well a pre-bid construction meeting here at noon, probably noon to 3, depending on if people show up, if they want to walk the site. But if any of you are interested in coming and hearing some of the contractor questions, I've received a few, but we're, most of it gets diverted right to Somerville. There's slow and steady transfer of those that want to move to the other harbors, so that's been pretty good. I've made contact with everybody now, clicked them off the list. I've talked to you. It's up to you to make the decision to move. At some point, I have to move you, kind of doing the extending the invitation before I say,
Give you the
okay,
boot.
it's time to leave. So anyway, that seems to be going well, and it's been pretty steady. Rate change, of course, went into effect. The first invoices came out at the beginning of February. We're getting a little bit of negative feedback, but it's nothing particular. Most of it is, a lot of people questioning. A lot of people, it's interesting, say, well, now, like we have one guy that has 3 stalls, and his bill for prepay was going to be $14,000. And so he's like, well, maybe I can't afford that right now, or I can only afford one at this moment, and I'll catch up with the other. Then we've had other people come in and say, now that it's this high, I've been paying monthly. Now it's a real incentive to use the 10% off. So it's kind of it'll be interesting to see. It'll probably end up being just about the same amount of people that pay ahead on there, which for various reasons. So kind of interesting. Borough transfer, the assembly has 1 year in which to decide how they'll handle the advisory boards. So until the harbor board gets the yay or nay, we'll continue to operate as usual. And we have already started talking about, so it's under new business. Budget, we're currently working on next year's budget. And again, I'll run it by you guys probably in April after we go through. We're we're coming up with a variety of different projects. One of the things we're looking at is getting the harbor a camera system for underwater camera system, and talked a little bit to
Cameras?
PFI.
Randy Lenti.
Randy Lenti. And because he's really into it, just to get what he uses as kind of a, his idea on a bit of a setup. So getting some numbers for that. Also looking at a heat pump system for the building. We had Wally Fleet Refrigeration come through and would do a nice write-up, and his the number for fully installing both buildings with a heat pump system for heating would be roughly about $50,000. So, Leo's on vacation, so I'm not sure if he is going to provide the money or if there's a grant out there or what, if it's just good information to have. But so we got that going. A couple of other things, nothing too severe. We're just really waiting until this North Harbor bid comes in and see if we have any leftover residual raw fish tax that maybe we could throw at some things. But if not, it'll be a pretty skinny year, so we'll probably not have much going on. Fleet activity, a lot of maintenance going on in the fleet. Crab fleet, of course, is getting busy. The 17th is the opening, and there's a number of coolers working. So, any questions?
Well, how many stalls do you anticipate being short when everybody transfers?
Well, could be upwards of 70 or 80, but that'll be a float side thing. It'll be, depending on who goes south for the winter, who's gone, who keeps their stall but isn't around, so I can shuffle boats in and out. But yeah, the ones I'm more so concerned about are the Glen size, the Matilda Bay size. Those
I'm
guys
taking care
are a
of it.
little
I jumped
bit.
on the ball.
Those are the guys that have kind of had to be fairly proactive in their own right to get themselves a spot. And Eddie and I have been talking about it. If they aren't in the system, we'll just have to suspend their account until we move them back in. And so it'll be kind of an interesting year to see where our revenue is too.
Where's the Kestrel going to go?
We've been talking with Icicle. So
Warm in the horseshoe there or something?
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that's
So
kind of-
we'll, either that or I have the end of sea float that we'll throw them out there somewhere and raft people to them or tuck people inside of them. For them it's a lot about the electrical needs. So, yeah, it's one of those things where you can get everything all situated down in paper today and who knows what it's really going to look like a year from now. So you just kind of have to get up every morning and deal with the crises of the day.
Put out the fire.
Yeah.
So on the rate change, on the negative feedback, have you gotten any feedback like, well, we didn't know it was going to be this much, or was there any surprise that their bill was the way it was?
Well, it's probably still resonating with people. No, not really. I mean, most people heard it coming.
Any threats of, I'm taking my boat and moving to Wrangell?
Not yet.
Good.
The guys that are a little bit less established, probably. More so, I get many more threats, honestly, week in, week out of, I can't believe you don't have a stall for me. I am a person that is, wants to make my home here in Petersburg. I don't really have a lot holding me here, and I've made this huge investment and I want to base out of Petersburg and I need a bigger stall, that kind of stuff. We're forcing them into, sea float on the south side of sea float, and it's a tough deal for those kind of boats. And all I can say is, we're building more and just hold on. I hope that I'll have a spot for you in the North Harbor that'll be better situation. That realistically is more the conversation, of I don't care what it costs. I just need, these are the things I need.
Yeah.
And I wish Petersburg would provide them.
Those are the kind of customers we want.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with so many of these gear groups, so many of these boats transitioning between gear groups. Storage is a big one. Storage is, something that they don't maybe even necessarily have to stand in line at the crane dock to get. I mean, they may have storage other places, but just to get the access. So I think, again, the drive down is going to really help with that, and maybe we'll make another stab at some other shoreside storage someday.
Sounds good.
So that's kind of, it's the cabin fever effect.
Anybody have any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I guess we can go on to unfinished business, the North Harbor.
I just have been keeping that on there just in case there's a decision that needs to come our way. Again, that there's going to be a bid opening March 5th, and so, at that point, tomorrow, there may be some things that come up tomorrow out of this contractors meeting, but most of the time the contractors look at things right away and give you a shout. I've been the contact, I was the contact listed on the bid, and I've heard from a few guys, but not anybody.
You still got 7 people that are...
Oh yeah, I've had
already?
there's been, I think, 9 requests for packets, the last time I checked, that they can download, and how we know that is when you download a packet or you call for a packet, they have to fill out a little bit of a check sheet, so that if there is anything that comes down from above, or if there's something that comes up at the meeting and somebody goes, oh my God, we forgot to say X, Y, and Z, we can send that out to all the people that ask for, so that everybody has the same information to bid.
Okay.
But, so that's how we know that there's that many. So that's why that's on there, unless you have something else.
What about the drive down crane drop?
Kind of the same deal, that's just kind of keeping it on there because those are our big projects. Again, work session tomorrow, I hope all of you can come, because this is where he's going to have some real specific questions on both of these. We're going to have to, really talk, and we're up to speed. This is their, now that we've got the North Harbor to the bid phase, now we're really concentrating on this project. Hope to go out to bid on this one by the end of the year, maybe even as early as October, November. So,
Did he give you a sense of how it's going to work, maybe to connect the two, like you say, mobilization?
I think everybody's kind of going under the same, idea that I've proposed, and that you would think that it would make sense to do it that way. I just need to make sure that everybody is aware that these are 2 separate projects. Everything has to, that's why we have to work with him to have him give a separate proposal, so that there is a separate way to track both of these projects. Yes, they can occur at the same time frame, but they have to be completely different. The design work, because the state is involved, and it's, a lot of it is their money, especially the crane up.
Does Dick give you a sense that he can use the state design on that crane dock?
And I, keeping my fingers crossed, he does, but, you never know. I'm sure there's going to be
The only thing that you couldn't take off the shelf...
suggestions.
The only thing you couldn't take off the shelf is how our dock's how the approach ramp is gonna land on the dock. So that's the only thing you can't take off the shelf. Or else we'd have exactly one like they have in June.
Oh, he's talking about the crane dock.
I'm talking about the crane dock.
I'm sorry, I thought we were...
Yeah, that's got
No,
No,
it's drive down still in my... Okay.
Well, we're just trying to coordinate them so
If you can just button
Because we've always
together.
talked about using the state design for the crane dock,
Right,
and I'm just talking about, engineers like to design things because it's already done.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and the more it costs, the more they make.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and that's where we have to really realize that we only have $1 million and we have 0 in the piggy bank. So If we spend $1 million on a fancy design, that's all we're gonna get out of it.
We could get Charles to put a plank one in for probably about 50,000.
Exactly. So, anyway, that's why that's on there.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's, you know, who's gonna be here to present it? Just Dick?
No, Dick is actually bringing Mark Morris.
Oh, good.
And he's also bringing John DeMuth, his head architect, so, or head engineer.
So Mark's the electrical engineer?
He
So
loves
we
coming
could-
down here.
Yeah. Well, and they're here because of the pre-bid, you know, when they need to talk specifics about things. So, thought it would be a great time to have them just spend the night and go through this. So, yeah.
All
those
right,
are-
good. That'll be real good. Informative anyway.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get some sort of feedback from other affected parties. The Harbor Board Advisory Review.
This is what I had in your packet, so if you want to give it to me, I thought I'd hand this whole thing to Kathy, but I just made a copy. What I just handed out now was a copy of the Petersburg Code of ordinances, and where, you know, talking about your position, your board here, kind of, you know, it just specifies what your job is and where you, the rules to play in the game. Using my own whatever, you put down on the second and third page, there's a backside to the second page, kind of what I, you know, put together as a review, and I don't know if you want to go over it, or if you just want to put all of them together and just hand them the whole deal.
What do you guys think?
So, whatever you want to do.
I
If you want to,
think what we should do is we should just, if you want to make up some copies like this and just take what we handwritten down here and do a spell check, I think each one should go in as an individual one.
yeah, and I think I like
We all
the
have
hand.
separate opinions and
yeah.
separate ideas. And
Jeff
instead of trying to
gave me
consolidate
one,
them.
and they need them fairly quickly.
Yeah.
That's why
What'd you
But
get?
maybe what I can do is read mine, and if you maybe then vote it up or down, because I used it a lot of the Harbor Board feel, so I'm speaking for you, because I didn't know that people would actually, and I wanted you to, I wasn't sure that you guys would really do your homework, so I wanted to
I'm
have,
beginning to sense
Two of
it.
those are curtain mics, right?
yep, and I have one
I'm
of
beginning to
Jeff's.
sense that.
I think it might be a good idea to
And-
run through them real quick.
And
I
Just to
Glenn
make
and
sure you're on
I,
the same page. You guys may not be on the same page.
I bet you Mike and I are on the same page.
well, and Glenn kind of helped me when he didn't know he was helping me.
Oh,
but-
I see why Glenn wants this, because Glenn helped her with this one.
Yeah, he
So this
did.
is Glenn's way, Glenn's way.
Glenn helped me with this one,
I
so.
say this is crap. If you want my opinion.
You go back to the board, there's probably something
Yeah.
to do.
So I could just read through mine and,
Yeah.
okay. The purpose of your board or committee as a group perceives their duty. The Harbor Board is an advisory group comprised of public citizens that review, investigate, and make recommendations on matters concerning the waterfront, ports, and harbors, and any other matters referred to by the borough manager or assembly. And that's pretty much taken from
Nutshell.
the
Yeah.
established,
Right.
under the ordinance.
What other matters referred to the borough manager or assembly?
Well, you just never know. You know, you never know. They'll send us
Property or
stuff
something, yeah.
about,
What do we do about
remember,
Banana Creek or Banana Point? or what, yeah.
exactly, or the
Okay,
Ocean
those are-
Beauty deal, or, you know, those kinds of things that
Anything that
sometimes.
pertains to our
Library.
jurisdiction. What's that?
Ouch.
The new library.
Yeah. It's close to the waters.
Does the majority of your current board or committee believe it should continue? I said yes. The existing Harbor Board believes they function as a valuable asset to the borough and should continue the work of reviewing and investigating the issues concerning the ports and harbor. Should the board be elected or appointed? And kind of taking a little straw poll, the current advisory board believes the existing system of publicly electing members gives the general public better representation, as well as nominating candidates from a broad pool of community members.
Interested community
From the-
members.
of interest, and some of them are not so interested.
Yeah, right, yeah, instead of an appointment.
Yeah,
Most people are interested,
interested.
but you know, how
like
interested are
that.
you, you know?
Yeah.
And my take on that was, if, depending on who the mayor is, who's appointing, you might get some
It would be lopsided.
bias from,
It would be.
Right,
It would
and
be.
so
I mean,
that's
they
why
might,
that's why we put
Unless
community.
Harold Medallion is appointed every time, then it'll be balanced,
Right.
regardless of, yeah.
no, Harold
I
doesn't
love you,
scare me.
Harold.
What
I mean-
scares me is the appointment of, some
I mean, that-
flower child.
I'm not doing that, no, I've always enjoyed
you-
having him on the board.
Child
Toss your
of the-
Of
shovel.
the flowers, yes. I always enjoyed his comments.
Okay, what is the ideal number of members of the board? And I think Glenn and I decided that 7 would be good. The current Harbor Board believes the ideal number is 7.
Just throwing you under the bus.
This number, there usually seems to be enough for a meeting quorum. This number also gives a good chance of representation from all user groups, 3 different harbors, a crane dock slant rent, port leases, as well as commercial, sport, and adjacent business owners.
I said the same exact thing, but without so many words.
Okay.
More diverse.
Could the board propose to
And
be
I-
handled by
Yeah.
the assembly as an ad hoc basis as needed? Why or why not? The current harbor board believes there is a considerable amount of work to be done as the existing harbor projects, the North Harbor rebuild, the drive-down facility and crane dock need attention. The board is already identifying future decisions the borough will be faced with. Members realize their role could be crucial to the public process. So,
And as I stated,
yeah.
that we have a tremendous responsibility to the economic stability in our community. The harbor is the catalyst for all the amenities that we currently enjoy.
Yeah, I think all those should be submitted.
Yeah.
I just didn't want conflict of interest.
Yeah.
On one of the issues to show up.
I don't think there is. I think we
Do you
might-
want me to just add them as is, or do you want me to go in and, just add extra points and put them all in as one, or
What do you guys think?
what do you want? Do you
That
want?
scrawling took me all of 15 minutes today to do, so I mean, I don't have a lot invested in it.
No, I think all of these
The
points.
points that aren't
Yeah,
covered.
do you want me to send them in, just add it to this
If
one?
you send in
or-
one, maybe just like tax form, just maybe consolidate some of the points that you think, without having to consult with us again.
Okay.
I mean, we'll just
Yeah,
take it
because
with-
she needs it by
Most
the
of the people
1st
I've
of
talked
March.
to
and-
don't want our responsibility.
Yeah,
I mean, even though it seems like we're a bunch of clowns, we all have a real vested interest in the harbors. We think a little deeper than just, our own little stalls.
well, yeah.
One point I talked about, and it didn't show up, and I don't know if you guys addressed it, is how many times has the Bureau or the Council addressed us, say, we need a recommendation from the Harbor Board? I mean, the last 4 years has been
Yeah.
Yeah,
continuous.
yeah, so I could add that.
No, I don't think they're concerned with it. I mean, I don't think they want, I can tell you, they don't want the concern of the harbor.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them don't understand
No.
the harbor.
No,
And
no.
A lot of them don't even have boats. They don't have a clue.
Mark's the only one.
John Hogue has a skiff.
Yeah, but that doesn't make him
And we
No.
do realize if there's no board, we don't get any food.
That's right.
That's right.
Here, here.
Well, these will be coming to the assembly, which just means that I have to change over to the assembly.
So, anyway, if that looks good, I think if you vote to say you want to stay on, and this is kind of the sort of what you want to,
Do we have to make, this is under new business? No.
Yeah.
This is under new business, so can we vote on it?
yeah,
Should I just make a motion then that just let Glorianne go through the questionnaires that we filled out, the review form that we filled out, maybe hit some of the high points and then turn them in without further review?
Second?
Seconded.
Okay. And all those in favor of letting Glorianne compile the comments that we put forth and
At her
give them-
discretion.
Pass them on?
okay,
Aye, aye.
Aye.
Okay.
thanks.
It passes. Good deal. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, fish cleaning stations. This is something that I've been thinking about. And there is some, Glorianne was saying that there is some funding available through the Sport Fish Division and possibly the Department of Fish and Game that could come up with some funding for fixing up our existing ones or building new ones that are more compliant with safety, and maybe, I'm not sure what the state's going to require in the future, DEC in particular about dumping fish waste in the harbor. But we should probably keep that in mind, and if you think of it when you're around some of these other users that use those cleaning stations, maybe John Jensen and the skip rental, and I think those people use them more than anyone. I think the sport fish guys, and then there's new regulations where you can't mutilate the fish on the boat until you get to town and land it. There's all these different things that are going to be brought into the picture. And if DEC doesn't allow it, like they did in Sitka, it was the city of Sitka that they don't allow any fish waste to go in the harbor.
What's the National Marine Fisheries Service saying about all that, sea lion?
Well, they gave us signs.
Yeah, that's how that's what he said. As far as I'm concerned, we can dump it as long as we don't see a sea lion.
No, what they say is as long as it goes through that little chute, you are not feeding the sea lion. It's when you stand and
Even if he's
toss
sitting
them
there
food.
with his mouth wide open under the chute.
He will not
The little
give you.
chute
They're just feeding up
The
on
chute
it
goes right to
constantly.
the surface, doesn't it? It doesn't go underwater.
No, but right now you're not going to get a fine if you go
Yeah,
use the
right.
facility and do it that way. He will give you a fine if he catches you tossing, or like last year, holding the fish up. And
Oh, are you kidding? Who did that?
George Rice Sr., we had to go down and go, buddy, knock it off. Anyway.
And he thought it
not
was
SeaWorld.
great, didn't he?
Oh,
It's not SeaWorld.
yeah.
I'll tell
It
you,
was. He had a lot of visitors this year, so it was
hey,
entertaining as people.
those two Georges are from the same tree.
yeah.
They are entertaining.
Oh yeah, he apologized about it, but
and then-
anyway, but to step back and talk just a little bit about maybe, that we might be able to find some money. I've been talking for about a year with Stan Malcolm, and every year there's this king salmon mitigation money that comes through the different gear groups. As you know, I'm working with ATA to try and get $50,000 to work on a trawler work float. And what we're putting into it, hopefully, none of these grant applications have seen the light of day yet. We hear that maybe they'll be out next week, but not quite sure. But both of these guys are regularly come in and talk to me about it. Hopefully, we can get $50,000 towards a trawler work float, and our contribution would be kind of in kind. We're saving some pilings. We are for this project. I would like to. There's enough integrity left in the transient float that we could use the flotation and turn that into the flotation for a work float. There also is, possibly some other money if we get, raw fish tax and stuff involved too. But, what can we do for $50,000? We can't build brand new. And so if we kind of, compile some stuff together, a lot of times, many of these things, that's how they get started. And then when your first project finally wears out, you can go and apply for real money to build a brand new facility. So kind of looking at it, doing it the Wrangle way. And
Cobble it together.
Yeah, and cobble it together and see where we can go. So that's one project. But then again, this there's also some money, and I'm not sure how much, through the sport fish division that also gets some of this king salmon mitigation money. And Stan has put in last year for the remote release site out there in Frederick Sound, or out there in front of Cabin Creek. That's just outside of our mitigation. Yeah, right. Sorry, City Creek, right outside of our mitigation area. This year, he's proposing that we build a new float. Again, just trying to, I haven't seen the application. I don't know how intense it is. Not spending a bunch of money on design right off the bat, because we don't even know yet. We have some things that we could throw at it. We have pilings that we could, we have these leftover steel pilings. We'll get roughly 15 of them, and only use, I think, 6 of them. So we should have another, half a dozen or so to put towards the trawler float, and maybe a piling or two on a new sport fish float.
They're not gonna let us push a creosote gravel in the water if we have spares?
We don't have any spares, but
Okay.
we're gonna have steel, so
Okay.
we'll have 15 steel. But,
And the sports fish float, where is that going?
same places where it is now. The one that they have now is worn out, they feel, the sport fish group feels that it's worn out and it's too small. And so that they'd like, so I've talked to Fish and Game, and they've kind of put in the back corner in Craig a brand new fish cleaning station for us that they'd contribute to this, and they can hold on to it for another 8-9 months before they have to give it away to somebody that's actually doing something. And it is a pretty nice one that that is also handicap accessible. There's like a higher place for 2 people to do clean fish, and then there's one that's lower. Yeah, for somebody in a wheelchair, I guess. So anyway, so I got my hands on that, and if I can kind of, again, compile some stuff, maybe we could qualify for, whatever we need to build an actual float. I don't have any quotes or anything yet, because I haven't even seen the application, so.
What's the use of that float? They say it's too small now because it must be, a bunch of people in the afternoon? I've
They
never
all
seen
come in
that.
on the same stage of the tide,
Yeah.
and,
So they've got a bunch of people
everybody's
there?
trying to do,
What
and they have
size are they thinking that they
one.
need?
Well, they have one table, that one human being, and so they all stand around and watch one human being.
That's all part of the ambiance, though, isn't it?
Well, for them it's not. They'd like to be drinking, or they'd like to be spending money up on
Let's let
Main
a little
Street.
cart, open up a little stand, in the harbor and
Right.
swap
So
with it.
that's where they're, and
I got that on the card.
they're trying to put money where their mouth is and actually come up with
Boy,
some.
different user groups, huh?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just see opportunity, man. I just see opportunity.
Well, and what we might be able to do, and this whole,
Care about the sports guys.
I just don't know how far we want to go down the route of, doing stuff before we're told we have to do. You can always try and stay in compliance, but there's nothing to be in compliance with yet.
So they're looking for twice the size? With
Yeah,
another table,
at
bigger
least,
table?
yeah.
So can we add on to the one we got?
I would say no. It's in pretty tough shape.
Yeah, it's
When we
concrete.
replace the float, when we replaced the launch ramp float, when that was redone, what was it, 10 years ago? That wasn't done. That is an extra thing that the sport fish people bought us. So
So they have
they're,
money to throw at it, though?
And
Well,
we
we
can
hope. We'll
expand,
see.
we can expand that footprint right off the end without.
that's what I would
Problem with
propose to.
navigation.
Plenty of
On
room.
the
there's
inside
plenty
or
of room.
outside, or.
Yeah, if you went another 20 feet, it's not going
Yeah.
to affect this.
And, we've talked a little bit about this. In fact, Fred Paulson came and talked to me last year about the idea of getting like a little barge set up where he could go from stall to stall, or he could go and gather up carcasses and all that kind of stuff. And it turned into quite a big deal. Once you go down that, it's not that they're going to allow you to do anything. You have to go through, what he found out was you had to go through a really fairly rigorous disposal operation, reporting,
Like a HACCP plan and all that.
temperature, stuff like, all you're trying to do is take some guts out to Frederick Sound and
Yeah.
let him go. Oh no, that's not, it's kind of the same old adage of, what if you put an out of order sign on your toilet on your boat, then there's not that,
Yep.
the government's hands are tied.
Yep.
Yep.
You're not
But
gonna use it.
if you do unlock and open it, then you're subject to all these other extra things. And so that's where Fred found himself last year, because he was honestly looking at doing this. And Sitka is a little different operation. They they have those big cruise ships in. It's a huge part of their industry to have this available for that certain
And what-
fleet.
what-
What they do is they hire a person to do all of this. And they actually have one fish cleaning station that is anchored out offshore, so you can't come and go. Boats go out, tie up to it. They do all the stuff, and they come over, once or twice a day, and they actually take the waste and go dispose of it. And it's a big process. I went over and toured it last year.
How does that fare when you when you're offshore, so you come in a charter boat, you go land at the island, you mutilate your fish, and then you go land at the dock where you could have an enforcement waiting for you to come in. You mutilated your fish before you got back onto the beach. I mean, I don't want to.
Maybe it's just the landing spot. that they
It's a
go.
landing, I guess.
Yeah,
I have no idea how
A
it
little bit
works.
enough of a crack in the door.
I-
It's really
And
simple.
so we don't right now have, I mean, I can't even get an extra person to help on maintenance, to try and find somebody to help with the 3 or 4 fish, to help John Jensen, to have somebody standing by, literally to take the guts off of his boat 24/7, all summer long.
Well,
So
Erickson's-
it's, there isn't a real
Erickson doesn't
smooth-
have like a sewage pipe out of his plant. So what he has is he has a gut dumper. It's like a Cargill netter
Yeah.
with 2 outboards on the back and a big trash pump. So all the gurry goes into this thing until it's full of herring, and full of guts. It goes out into the sound. It's got a hose that you throw over the side. It's about 20 feet deep, and you pump all this gurry out, and you have to be in constant movement, just slowly, just idling, and you disperse this stuff.
And how far out of Taku Harbor does he have to get? I mean, how-
Basically, he can go just out in the proper there of Lock
From
Bay.
Chicago?
Rock Bay.
Yeah, right. But, if the weather's decent, then he'll go out around the backside, but he doesn't have to. He just has to be out in a certain depth of water.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the point that I was thinking about when I come to this fish cleaning
But just
station
got the
is
card.
is that I think it's a good asset to the community if we have a nice facility. And I
Yeah.
can see in the future, I was just talking to the guy that owns, or the guy that CEO of Silver Bay, and he said last year alone, just with fish guts and heads, they made over $1 million with their plants. Because they're saving them. They're not grinding them, they're not putting them out, they're just freezing them in blocks and selling them to a cat food manufacturer.
It's really interesting, some of the crabbers, especially some of the day fishermen, what they have done in the past, and, and we've allowed it just because it hasn't been a problem. They throw out a garbage can or 2, and they just have a note on the top that says, please put guts and heads and guts in here. They come and get it in the evening, take it out, and they use it for bait. That seems to work from time to time. It hasn't been a mess. It hasn't been, and it, maybe that right now is,
So I wonder if
we're
there-
allowing it because it hasn't been an issue.
I wonder if there's
But
any interest from our community cold storage to look into that market.
Well, it could be, and it might not be
Yeah.
something
I don't-
easy to get into right
Right,
now,
right,
but
but
I think it's going to happen.
I don't think you could sail sport cod guts. Everything that Silver Bay is doing is commercial.
Commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't think you could even sell them?
I don't
You
think so.
probably.
You
probably
could give
correct,
it. You
yeah.
could give it away though.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't
If
want.
they just want it. What
They wanna
I'm
pay
getting
freight
at
to
is,
get 'em.
if we have a nice facility to start with, just to
Yeah.
go over
Yeah.
there, then the
Yeah.
future comes along and you go, hey, this is an asset to the
Right.
community, and we can collect all this
Right.
stuff and freeze it at the cold storage and make,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I encourage them to come up with a better system than what we got. We've got a couple of these little, but if we had one facility that would everybody could go to,
Everybody, yeah.
then it wouldn't be, we wouldn't have messes here and there, and
Right, and that's kind of why we do have a few, we have 3 or 4 spots that we have, one in the North Harbor, one in the end of the Middle Harbor, then our large one down in the South Harbor at the launch ramp, is to kind of spread it around, spread it out. So it isn't all concentrated in one area, and you do have this issue. Right now, time will tell, and we're open for good suggestions, but, you also have to weigh it with what is reasonable, to hire a human being to do what you're talking about. Yeah, that'd be wonderful if I had somebody just
Good
on
seasonal.
staff sitting there waiting for John Jensen's fleet to come in to,
Well, if we could
you
sell,
know,
if we
to
could
go
sell the
drift
product
around.
through a cold storage, we'd break even. But if we
Yeah.
can't, we're right up against.
we've talked
Cost.
about, taking it over to one of the grinders, but again, okay, there, it's again the,
Logistics,
the
cost.
logistics
Personnel.
of getting a forklift to take a tote, drive it through Main Street, can't do that, and, to take it over and then deck bucket it into the you know, the hopper. At some point, you've paid somebody
Motion to
6
use actually the
hours
hopper number.
to do this, and when nobody's forcing our hand yet. You know, and so, like Mike says, at least we'll have a nice facility that at some point, maybe we'll be forced to deal with it, but.
We could do it at the end of the airplane float. That's where they haul out anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh
Put the
my
toad out
gosh.
there.
Wow.
Feed trough.
We don't need a grinder, we got those big things that sit on the dock.
That's right. They're processors.
Oh, yeah, did you tell everybody about the one on the dock the other day? Jumped out on the,
Yeah, we're getting
the
them over
Kestrel.
by the Kestrel now, jumping out.
You're
so
kidding.
Clear that. Need
How
to
do
put
we
a bow rail on
discourage that? Higher bull rail?
I was just thinking that you could have a little thing that goes like this and things come
The
up
prongs
like
come out.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh boy.
something, you know, it happened down south, you know, they can just take over harbors.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a scary precedent.
I know.
That we allow them in the harbor.
Yeah.
But
Now, those stun guns the police use, you know, the ones that actually
Tasers?
shoot the dart.
Tasers.
Sea lions like those, or?
Joe Short was saying they were testing some new version of that on the Brown Bear in Armstrong a couple of years ago. Super
Oh,
duper
really?
tasers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe
They work.
it's possible.
Well,
here-
sea lion,
Yeah.
how much fat do you have to go through before you're gonna get to any
Well,
nerves?
I'm not mentioning names, but there was an experiment done in the North Harbor. Wasn't you? But they did
Nobody
the
correct.
taser thing on
Nobody
a
correct.
pike pole, and the sea lion did not like it and just shot like a rocket out of the harbor.
So you're admitting that you're a material witness to this?
Just seriously.
Read about it.
There's a rumor? This is a theory.
Read about it.
Anyway, so who knows, maybe our hand will be forced before long, but, you know, I don't know what the attraction was. There was nothing out there, there's nobody's putting, the outflow isn't going up and running. I don't know what he was doing out there.
But there's no gray area for any of that in the federal law against endangered, you know,
No.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, there's
Jared
nothing you can
Carr-
legally do
No,
with it.
Jared always says that it always goes back to the sea lion. The sea lion or the marine mammal has all the rights. We don't have the right to do
Anything.
anything.
Could we put like a big killer whale fin on a piece of plywood and just
Fine.
tack it to the?
Yeah, there you go.
Have continuous orca sounds
sounds.
being piped.
Did
You know,
see
I've
those
heard
little
of that being
yes,
done,
Nick?
actually.
Southbound.
I heard they
Yeah.
were going. I didn't see them, but I heard about it.
Might have been why the sea lions are testing out new
Haul outs?
haul-outs.
That could have been.
'Cause I bet,
That
yeah,
could have
killer whales
very
are going
well
up on
been.
Yeah.
Now
on the
that
dock,
you
you know,
say
to-
that,
What day was that?
that was,
Yesterday.
Day
I think.
before
it
yesterday.
was day before
day before
yesterday.
Sunday.
I think so.
No, it was,
Sunday or
it was Monday.
Wednesday?
It was Monday,
It was Monday,
Monday
yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Could have been that. Yep, because they've been
Well, they
talking
were-
about the
The
killer
sea
whales.
lions were aggressively getting up on the beaches.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that this
Yeah,
afternoon.
you see that one.
But the other thing is, I saw that
Props up.
last fall or last summer, there was this big excitement. All these sea lion or all these killer whales were going through. I thought, awesome.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Clean 'em out.
Clean them out.
Here we go, because, you know, last summer we had upwards of 10 or 12 on that airplane float. But okay, here we go. And they could care less about that particular pod of killer whales going through. Could not care less. They were in the water, and
Oh.
because we went down and tested it, and all people could say is, well, there's two different kinds of killer whales. There's the fish-eating ones,
Yeah.
and there's the mammal-eating ones, and usually the mammal-eating ones are the ones that are not the residents. They're the transient group. So anyway, so I don't know.
Well, anyway,
Anyway,
We love sea lions.
very much.
Just want to say that
yeah,
for the record.
friends of Atlanta.
Okay, so anything more on fish cleaning stations?
Hopefully, I'll have something to.
So can we
report
get
next week.
can we get
Next
can we get them to send it up? Because we tell them we'll take down that old table, and we don't want to lose that one out
I
of
know,
Craig, right?
yeah.
So that's what we're here about, is how
Yeah,
we can
it's
get that.
ours as soon as we.
It's unlikely we're going to get a new dock built in 9 months before they give away that thing, so.
Yeah,
Craig's setting that up?
it is through Fish and Game.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's sitting in
Say,
Craig.
those poor
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
don't have anything. I can't believe they're giving something up.
No, it's a fishing game, and I think it might be sitting in Craig or someplace. It's sitting somewhere, and they had.
Well, let's get it and build it, and let's get it, and then we'll build something to.
Well, and I was hoping, I was thinking that this would be ready to build maybe in November, and then Stan said, oh, no. So
No, it's-
I saw him in the store yesterday, and he said it's supposed to be out next week.
No, it's just attachments to a float. It's not
Yeah.
a float. It's attachments that go on a float.
Fish
Oh, the
cage
fish
table.
cage.
I'm just thinking
Big.
about shipping. If we're talking a van, a flat, or
I was hoping that maybe the Kestrel was going to be farting around.
Well, there's gonna be a bunch of deltas down
Yeah.
there. We could easily find room to put it on one
Put
of the
it on one
deltas
of
and
them.
bring it
Okay.
back.
Yeah.
So we'll be down there in about a
Okay.
month.
Well, I'll email. It was who I talked to as our sport fish guy here.
Jennings?
Fleming.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
Fleming.
and he was the same one talking to me about the rearing net pens
right,
out there.
right, yeah, yeah.
Calgary.
So, anyway, so we'll see.
There'll also be the Deer Harbor down there.
Oh,
is he coming
there you
back
go.
up?
Okay.
Anyway, just food for thought. All right, I guess we're moving on to communications. We don't have anything written down there. Anybody want to communicate anything? And we don't have any board discussion items, except for those sandwiches were really, really, really good.
Oh, good,
Thank
Yes, they
good.
were.
Yeah.
Do we want to discuss them?
How would you like to discuss?
I like onion, but maybe a little less, but box was good.
All I want to know is, has everybody counted their
Yeah, I had their
number?
three.
I had my two.
He'll take the rest.
That's my two.
Okay, gang, well, that's
Well, I
it.
make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.